Are you overwhelmed by your homeschooling planning and you really desire to be organized in the process and you just really don't know how to get started? If so, I cannot wait to walk you through today's episode. I'm Dolly Freeman. I'm the host of Influencing Your Kids. And today I am going to help you learn how to go from overwhelm to organized by streamlining your homeschool planning. Now, what I'm going to be sharing with you today has a lot to do with my own personal experience as a homeschooling mom since 1999. I think I can say I've learned a thing or two about homeschooling and homeschool planning. So, if I can, I would really love to start sharing with you a bit about my own experience in my going from overwhelm to organized and how I streamlined my planning to do just that. So, when I started back in 1999, I truly got into this system of being very overwhelmed and thinking it was a natural process of homeschooling. And why is because it's pretty much how everybody homeschooled. We talked about curriculum, we started thinking about it, looking at curriculum catalogs as early as March. We started to attend homeschool conferences earlier in the spring. There was book sales. There was a whole lot of things that would get us to naturally stop thinking about the year we were currently working through and begin planning that next year. Now, a lot of it is because we homeschool moms live in this very redundant, demanding life. And sometimes when we get to this part of the homeschooling year towards the end, we're ready for something new. And let's face it, planning is so much easier and funner than it is for us to actually implement those plans. At least that has been my experience. So when I tell you that I was planning months, about half of the year was devoted to planning. I began to think about it mid-June, sometime or mid-January. Sometimes I was making curriculum changes in those months. And I was in this cycle of constantly thinking about curriculum. Can you relate to that? Are you in this process where curriculum is consuming your processing of your mind and your energy and your effort? If so, what I'm going to share with you today could help you very much get out of the overwhelm and become intentional in helping you organize so that your mind is not constantly contemplating curriculum. So I became very devastated when I realized that all of those months of research, asking well meaning friends, attending book fairs, attending homeschooling conferences, that my choices for that very first year was actually the wrong choice for our family. I was devastated to realize that the curriculum that I chose that had caused financial strife with my husband and I was actually the wrong choice, and that I was going to have to make a decision or just suck it up and deal with it for the rest of the year. Well, by week 6, I realized that I just couldn't do this curriculum. It was going against the core values of what my educational philosophy was. And that was around the time that somehow, I don't even remember, Charlotte Mason came to the forefront of what it was that I was researching. I don't know how I stumbled upon her. I don't remember. All I do remember is this drawing towards what it was that she was teaching. And here I was, knowing that I could sell the curriculum that I already did because it was a well-liked curriculum, and I knew it could sell quite quickly, and it did. And from that, I took the money and I began to piece together for the very first time my own curriculum. I just felt very led and empowered to know my children best and to be able to know what it was that I wanted them to know. And here's the reason. I knew my why in homeschooling very clearly when I began to homeschool our children. It was our first year. I had that why so ingrained and anchored in my thought process. That's how I recognized that that's not the right curriculum for our family. That is why I was quick to make this pivot and say, I cannot do a whole year. And when I explained that to my husband about the problems I was having with the curriculum and how it was going against what it was that I felt in my spirit, he agreed with me. And we were able to make some of those shifts together and talking through. So I began to piece together. And I don't know if you are one of these people who think piecing together your own curriculum is overwhelming. It can be, but my goal and my passion is to help you not be overwhelmed in this and to help you to realize that in this process of piecing together, you're going to know your children best and better with what I'm about to share with you today. So, um, the biggest aspect to planning for lessons is knowing why our children should learn what we're giving them and who would influence them in interesting influence them by interesting them to retain the information. Let me explain this. We're not just going out looking for curriculum. We're looking for the right influences within those curriculums that will not only interest our children, but will give them the knowledge we want our children to retain, right? In order for that to happen, we must earn their eager attention. For that, they have to have sparks of vital interest. Now, so I step back and I was like, okay, so what is it that I want my children to learn? Why do I want them to learn it? And who is the best resource out there or the best past person who can give that knowledge to my children? Now, as reading Charlotte Mason, nature was one of those big things. And I'm telling you, as a city girl, I was all not sure about this whole nature stuff. In fact, I have story after story after story that I can share with you about how uncomfortable I was with our second child loving nature and the way he stretched me as a mom and the way that I had to learn how to overcome my own moods with the things outside and use that as a valuable source of knowledge. So when I took this as recognizing, okay, I need to learn who I want to influence our children. And that is key. We look at curriculum more about checking off a box, appeasing homeschooling laws, or getting a subject done. Instead, I want you to have this shift of starting to think about who we want our kids to influence and who we want to influence our kids. And in that, we're going to be selecting the very best of men and books that we want to put into our curriculum. And when you start to realize that and have this epiphany in your mind of this is what it's like to pick and hand select your own curriculum and not just get it in a box, your year is going to be so much better. So that was one of the biggest aspects that I had as I was beginning to go from overwhelmed into organized in myself. I had to ask my question, who do I want my children to be influenced by? And how can that person actually spark a vital interest where they retain that information? Now, I can go on stories and stories and stories about how the selections I picked not only captured my children's attention, but then they would go into their free time with having to learn more. That's how valuable this is we want it to be an education is a life. It's an atmosphere. It's a discipline. If we're just thinking it checks the box off and gets us done with a couple hours of our day, you're not planning in the way that you most likely desire your education for your children at home to become. So think about those things. Okay, so then as I began to teach two of our kids, with our third child being an infant, I began to do something that changed exactly how I was going from overwhelmed to organized. Now, this is something that is pivotal if you want to become organized and you really want to streamline your planning and be effective with your unique child. And what I began to do was journal key things about each and every child. So I had a notebook for each child that I was putting down thoughts. I'm going to tell you exactly what to journal in a few minutes. So if you don't have a piece of paper, grab it now. You're going to want to write these down. So journaling each and every one of my children, if we are uniquely and wonderfully made by God, if each of us have a purpose in our life, if each of us are not cookie cutters, then our education should in fact not only mark out the career, but align our children with the purpose in which they were born, right? That's the privilege of homeschooling our children. So no better way to do that than to begin to become very aware of your children. They've been given to you as a gift from God, but you are required by God to raise them in a way in which they will not go away from, that they will walk in that way but also fulfill the purpose that God has for their life. So, journaling was the thing that made a big difference in helping me streamline what it was that I would plan each and every year. So, as I began to journal, I also did something else that helped me to organize my planning in a way that took me from planning for months each and every year down to 8 hours for elementary years for the whole year and 4 hours for high school. I'm sorry. Yes, I got that messed up. It took me 4 hours for elementary years and 8 hours for high school years. That is significant. That's a weekend work instead of months of work. Now, what I'm about to share can do that for you. This is the streamlining I'm about to share with you. Now, the secret is when I am planning journaling my children, I am being very specific about what it is that I'm journaling so that it will help me in streamlining my plans for each child. I don't have to sit there and wonder about what my child would like. I remember sharing this with a friend back when our older two were younger, and I remember helping her through the planning process. And she was just like, but I don't understand. How is it that you do not know about your children? And she would say, I don't understand how you know this much about your children. So it is both an art and a science that you must learn. And before I give you the steps, I'm going to walk you through how it is that you're going to want to begin to journal. Okay. Now, the first thing is we moms are busy. I'm going to encourage you to be still. I want you to start being still more. And that means put your phones down. I want you to put them on silence more. And I want you to just sit and be a mother in the middle of your children. I want you to listen to the conversations. I want you to listen to what makes them happy. You're not talking, you're just listening. I want you to see and observe what it is they naturally go towards when they have free time. When you're allowing them to make choices of what they're going to spend their time with, what they're going to do, that is a learning tool for you as a mom that you're going to start journaling. What is it that you're observing from our child? From each of your children. And in that, you're going to begin to really unlock some major secrets that is going to help streamline your planning for each individual child as you progress through their educational path. Now, with that said, I know the power of journaling for each and every child. And that secret has helped me organize my planning even more. And because of that, I made sure journaling was part of our grade notebook. Now, before I start sharing the 5 things you need to journal for each of your children, I'm going to show you the back of the dividers. Each of our divider tabs are unique on the front based on the type of journal or the type of grade notebook it is. But the back of the journal tabs are journaling, and they're all the same. So it doesn't matter which one you pick, you will have the same thing. So here's your tab, and on the back of your tab is a place for you to journal. Throughout your year, you're going to learn the skill of listening to your children and listening for the purpose of connecting with the science of who they are so that you can better know who they are and what their needs are in their curriculum. Okay. So you're going to start writing these down and having them in a place where it's their grade notebook. So you'll know exactly what year they were interested, the things that motivate them, that challenge them, that inspires them, that explores. And these are based on the subject. So it's going to help you plan next year's plan so much easier by having this journaled in one place. Now, you're ready to know what all you need to journal. This will guide you through key things on subjects. Okay. The subjects is going to help you plan out your subjects for the next year. But what I'm about to share with you, the 5 things to journal, will help you to understand your unique child and how it is that you can teach them to align their purpose of why they were created with their education. Does that sound like something you would like to know what to journal about? I hope so, because this one gets me very excited, and I know how powerful it was for our educational path. So, the number one thing you're going to start journaling is your children's interest. Now, interests change as your child matures, right? But with it, you will see that some interests actually connect to other interests, meaning like our children who have loved Legos cannot always just build houses or, the simple things. They also, I've had children build fighter jets and RVs and semi trucks and weapons. I have had children build out the kits that are already done for you. But I've also had children who have taken the Legos and done slow motion animation videos, I think is what they're called. And so when you see how interests can change, mature, and actually lead them into more dominant ideas, you can begin to see how important interest really is to a child. Now, the second thing you're going to want to start to journal is their strengths. Each and every child, I don't care if they're struggling in a subject, I don't care if they're struggling with school, every child has strengths. Every child. I don't care if they have special needs. I don't care if they have learning disabilities. They still have strengths. And you, as their parent, need to become very aware of these strengths, because you can learn how to tap into the strengths to help with their weaknesses. This is what I have done with our children who are dyslexic. I've been able to use their strengths to overcome their weaknesses, right? Now, the third thing that you need to start journaling is their weaknesses. These are the things that do not come natural to them. These are the things that they struggle really hard with. They're quick to get upset about. These are the things that they're frustrated with when they cannot do it well. This will give you some ideas of their temperament, their character flaws. It'll also give you these clues of where you need to really hone in on to help them overcome these hurdles in their education. And by coupling their strengths with their weaknesses, I'm telling you, you can show progress very quickly. But you won't be able to do that if you don't journal throughout the year as you're observing these things in your normal day. These are not things that you're going to see just pop up within the homeschooling hours. You're going to see them throughout their day, in their summer, in their evenings, times when the grade notebook's not quite there. But the grade notebook's going to help you with interest within subjects. These are going to help you with understanding their life and their personality. So the fourth thing you're going to start journaling is their God-given gifts. Every child has something that wasn't really taught. It just is almost innately embedded in their DNA. These are God-given skills. These are gifts. You might have a child who is very, very skilled at organizing. You might have another one who's skilled at sketching. You might have another one who is completely skilled with math or even taught themselves to read. These are the things that I'm talking about, these gifts that you don't know how in the world the child learned it, but they excel at it. This is not just doing good. These are things they excel in doing. These are the things that you want to start really putting down and being very clear about, even as early as 1 or 2 years of age. And the reason being is our God-given skills often will let us know what qualifications God has put within us in order to equip us for the purpose He has created us to fulfill. Okay, we often overlook these God-given gifts. And this is why so many people are really struggling with finding their career or being content in their career. So then the fifth thing that I want you to start journaling is life skills. Life skills are things that you want to know what your children are capable of doing independently. That's the only reason it's a life skill. It's something they can do completely on their own. So these life skills change as your child matures. And you better believe a child at 1 needs to learn life skills. We're talking about how to feed themselves, how to go to the bathroom. These types of skills are almost like age appropriate skills. And then there's some that you have to realize that if you're on a farm, a child probably is going to learn how to milk a cow pretty early, or how to pick up the eggs from the chicken hen, where a city child is not going to learn that life skill. So you have to realize there's some that might be conducive to the life that you have your child in, where others are just everyone should know. So be thinking about these life skills and journaling what they are learning in order for you to know, see progress in different areas is the key thing, but also to make sure that they're completely equipped for adulthood. There's so many children who do not know how to do basic math and they cannot figure out finances. So that's what I want you to work on in journaling, these 5 steps: their interests, strengths, weaknesses, God-given gifts, and then finally the life skills. Now, when you are working on streamlining your journaling and you need a little help, you can go ahead and get a grade notebook, and it will show you how to journal at the back of every tab. Now, I'm about to get into the comments and have a little time of Q&A if you guys have some, and have some continued conversation with the topic of streamlining your planning with the things that I talked about. So let me go ahead and get into the comments with you, but I also want to prepare you for next week's topic. Next week's episode is going to be how to shortcut your planning time. So if that's of an interest of you, be sure to show up. That is something I want to share with you, because I literally have taken months off how I have been able to plan. And I want to equip you in knowing how to do that. Time is precious. Let's learn how to use it well. Hello, Elizabeth. I'm glad to see you too. It's so good to see when you guys interact with me on these calls or on these episodes. So please say hello. Let me know your thoughts from today and any questions that I might be able to answer with you. And then I want to even tell you a little bit about journaling. It doesn't have to be anything special. I would literally buy the spiral notebooks when they were on sale during back to school sales, and I would just write my child's name on it. And then I also did the black ones, the black notebooks. I think they're college. I don't know. I forget what they're called, but the black notebooks. And I would just put their names on it. And that is where I journaled. And this is not something I let my kids see, although they probably would have enjoyed it. It was for me. It was for me to be able to know and to really become intimate with the uniqueness of each of my children and provide them with the unique education required for them to fulfill their purpose. Hello, Anna. Nice to see you here. It's so good to see you guys. Elizabeth asked, do our students fill out the back of the dividers on their own, or do we help them figure out what to write? I am going to encourage you to enable your children to fill them out, Elizabeth. And here's the reason. You need to become very skilled about these things, but we also have to equip our children to know these things as well, because we all can only guide and assist our children through their decisions up to a certain point. After that, they're going to take ownership of their decisions in adulthood, and they're going to be needing to know the skills of how to really go inwardly to project the right decisions, the right way for them to go in their decisions. For instance, a perfect analogy is this. If a child has this short way of thinking for their career, I went with this with 3 of our children so far, 3 adult children. When they switched careers and they were like, I really don't know what else I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm qualified for, right? You have to learn to teach your children how they can see what their experience have been to be valuable to go on a resume. And I was really proud of my married son the other day. Last week we were talking, he's going into a different line of work right now, and he's putting his resumes out. And I was trying to encourage him as a new dad, you got this, son. Whatever you do, you'll be able to do really well. And he looked at me and he goes, Mom, when I looked at my resume and I saw all the things that I could label on there, that's not a skill he knew. I had to teach him how to be really intentional about the things he put on, right? It's not just one job that you're doing. It's what were the different duties that you did in those jobs. They learn how to do that when they start taking over their journaling. Okay, they'll learn how to be able to identify the different jobs that interest them, that will bring them excitement, passion, not just give them financial benefits, right? So when he was looking at his resume, he's like, Mom, I realize that what you've said for years is true, that I am a very fast learner. Now, you have to remember, this child struggled with confidence for years because he was dyslexic, and I did not know it. I didn't understand how to help him through it. And so he struggled with confidence in these things. But when he got into the workplace, I kept saying to him, son, you can learn anything. You just watch and you know exactly how to do it. So when he was filling out his resume, he began to see, oh my goodness, I did learn a lot of skills. And it was exactly what Mom said. Just by seeing, I was able to do it. And so just to see that boosted confidence, not as a husband, but also as a new father, helped me to just go, oh. So yes, our children need to learn how to inwardly process their information of what it is that interests them, the skills, the life skills they have, the job skills they have, and be able to position that in a journaling type of format to position themselves in a higher level of another thing. So definitely do it for them, help them learn the skill, and then let them take ownership of it. But in the same time, you're creating your own journal behind the scenes while you're still processing them through their educational path. You don't want them to come as an adult and not know how to innerly process the things that are important to them. Identify their own interests, their own strengths, their own weaknesses, their own God-given gifts, as well as those life skills. Those are 5 things we all need to be able to know about ourselves. All right. So Anna says, do you break up the categories as you journal, or do you simply journal each thought as it came? So when I first started, I would just start journaling, and I was really thinking about interest, and that was because it was Charlotte Mason. But when I realized my son's struggles, I began to really journal strengths, and that's when I started to do them separately. So I would do a category, I would leave a space for one, and then I would do another, and then I would do another, and I would do another. And so this just helped me to plan, and it became very intentional. Like when I realized, wait a second, his strengths I can use to overcome his weaknesses, and they perfectly work beautifully. If you're not planning that way and your children are behind, you're not doing them a good service. Use their strength to overcome their weaknesses. And then also their interest needs to be there in any subject that you do. You need to become a master at sparking vital interest in your children over subjects they're not interested in. You need to master that skill. But then when you recognize there's God-given gifts here, and one of Micah's God-given skills was being able to watch anything and know how to do it. When he was 2 years old, he watched his dad build an built-in dresser unit and bookshelf into the kids' room. 2 years old, and he was just 2. My husband went to work that day, left his tools out from the weekend, and it got really quiet. And whenever my son is quiet, you probably can say the same thing, you need to go check on him. So I went to check on my 2-year-old while I was making dinner. And that boy at 2 knew how to use my husband's tools, and he took off all the doors to the drawers. He took them all off on one side. So there were 4 of them, 3 or 4 of them. He took them all off. And I couldn't believe it. But I knew it was him because he had the screwdriver and some screws in his hand. And so I'm like, young man, your daddy's going to be here in a few minutes. You better put them back the way you found them. And I stood there and I watched him. And that boy knew exactly how to do it. He put them back. This was at 2. That's when I began to observe, wait a second, this child is doing anything he sees us do, and he's doing it well. Now, he didn't put the screwdriver or the screws in as tightly as my husband did, but my husband went behind him and did it. So again, my husband had to learn to take care of the tools when he was done with them, because my 2-year-old had an interest of knowing how to use it. And he had the God-given skill of being able to watch and learn. When he got into the golf industry, he taught himself all of this stuff in the pro shop before he was even moved into the pro shop. And he told the people there, I know how to do that. And they're like, really? Show me. And he showed them time after time. And that just elevated his position in the golf course very quickly. So if you get really good at these things by being quiet, I was nursing my babies, sitting there intentionally observing our children. It doesn't take a lot. Just when you're doing dishes, when you're making dinner, quietly stop thinking and quietly listening to your children. Listen to the conversation, listen to what makes them happy. Watch how quickly they learn something or how they struggle, and begin to journal those things. And you will find out that you become more equipped for the educational plans for your children. Anna says, that is incredible. It reminds me of my two youngest, so quick and observant. Yes. And the more observant a child is, the faster they're going to learn. So I went over today, but this was a topic dear to my heart, because if we really want to streamline our planning, if we want to become very intentional about what it is our children are learning, the only way to do it is through this, is getting to this point of knowing how to journal our children and to plan according to their uniqueness. It doesn't take long to learn how to do this. It doesn't take long. So don't believe that lie that this is going to take a lot of process. It's not. And honestly, you can listen throughout the day and take 5 minutes and journal for your kid in the evening, and it will pay off dividends in time later. Trust me. All right. So next week, we're going to be talking about how to shortcut your planning. And I have more skills to be given to you moms. You don't want to miss it. So I'll see you next week, Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time, either on Facebook or on YouTube. Until then, bye for now.